I'm Kyle, and I work with some of the most impressive leaders and teams delivering services for the world's largest mining and energy companies. Real leadership happens in these tough conditions and high-risk environments, and here are the stories from leaders on the front line. Matt, great to have you on the podcast today, and we're coming from such a beautiful spot. We're at Hamersley Gorge in the Pilbara in WA. We've just spent several hours out on a few of our rig sites, having a look at our mineral drilling operations. And I got to ask you, probably the first question that maybe you get asked a lot of is, where's the nickname come from, Muttley?
When I was about 14, I had bronchial asthma at the same time and got into a bit of a coughing fit because we were a bit drunk at the same time. So, yeah, and everyone called me Muttley from there on out. So, because I could laugh like the dog off the cartoon. So that was where it comes from.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And so when you think about, leadership and, some of the leaders that you've either learned from or based the way you go about leading, what are some of the examples of those behaviors that you really sort of keep in mind as you sort of carry on your business?
Leading from the front. Like, I wouldn't ask anyone to do what I haven't done. I would never put anyone in jeopardy if it's not safe. The biggest thing I learned from was one of our superintendents at the moment was bringing positive recognition, bringing the issues you have up, and then always ending with positive recognition. It's a key thing to not sort of, if there's an issue we've got, to not try and peg someone down about it. It's more so, okay, we've got some problem here, we need to sort it out, and then always finish on a high. So the boys aren't going away thinking that I've screwed up and I've done this, but yeah, we bring it to light and then carry on from there. We can always bring a positive out of something from that and then work from there.
Yeah, that's brilliant, actually. And it's something I feel like I've got to remind myself about. Somebody told me once that the kind of psychology is that humans think that you got to hear 6 times the amount of positive news as you do negative news. So if you hear something negative once, that sticks in your brain. You got to hear 6 positive things to sort of counteract that, and that's sort of what you're saying, right? End on that positive.
Yeah. Well, you can always start off with a positive. You can bring up the negative and then end on a positive. The boys walk away a lot more happier, and I've never seen anyone really jump up and down. Like, if you brought an issue up and then you said, look, this has happened, but out of this we've learned this, or we've now got this, and the boys always walk away happier from it. Never pegged down like a sulking dog sort of effect, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And so how long have you been I guess, drilling? I know you told me quite a number of years, but give us a bit of just the background and how long you've been working in this industry or other similar industries.
22 years now. I did 10 years in New Zealand and 12 years over here. Started off with a small company in the South Island, New Zealand, and started with cable tool, test pumping bores, and then worked up to operating it. Did a lot of working around with other rigs, and then we did some oil and gas with some DR rigs, some coal seam coring, and then sort of had enough in New Zealand, wasn't really going anywhere, and come to Australia and did a little bit with Tightline, and then started with Eastermel Coal, and then jumped over to Eastermel Minerals over west. So,
and through all those years, I mean, the first thing I think we talk about every time is the importance of safety, because I mean, really, I think in these kind of industries, safety has to be paramount. You get distracted by anything else, and there can be some pretty catastrophic outcomes. When you think about when you're looking at your crews and you walk out on a site, what are the things you sort of take notice of straight away, and how you kind of think about whether that site is operating safely or not, and start to get the vibe of things? Mainly
is where the crew are, what they're doing, where their compressors are, where the rig is, how they're set up, the orientation, what we've got in the way of barriers, hard barricading for telehandler, exclusion zones. The rig at the moment, DR1, is pretty unique because it still is running a bit old school till we get it upgraded, but we do have a lot more challenges. We don't have the rod loader, but we are working, like, that is part of the package. We'll get there. And just mainly wondering where the guys are and how the boys are operating. Is it safe? Are they out of the exclusion zones? Are they in where they need to be? And always watching where they are. Equipment as well. I do have a sort of a keen eye for equipment. You can run your eyes over everything, see anything's not wrong, talk to the crew, what's going on, and go from there.
Yeah. And when you're talking to the crew, what are some of the things that are sort of the indicators for you, around the behaviors of the culture of the people on site?
You do learn your crew, and you do know when they are off or whatever. More so as a driller, you're always watching what they're doing, what they're eating, if they're drinking, and you learn your crew inside and out. And then if they start getting a bit agitated, like if you pull someone up, like, why isn't that cone there, or why we got that there, and they give you a bit of hesitation back, you're like, okay, that's not you.
Mm-hmm.
And then move on to there, pull them aside, like, what's going on? Have you had any water lately? Have you been eating? That's the main things. You've got some issues at home, so we've got to really watch what they're doing and where they're going. And you do learn them what your crew's like, their ups and downs, and where their headspace is.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, that importance of knowing your people, especially for those new people coming out on site. How do you either coach your team or you yourself sort of engage with the new folks that are coming on site to get to know them, and so that you know those kind of little behavioral quirks that are coming up?
Just talking with them, having a joke with them, see where their sort of attitude is, what they're like, ask what they've done in their past. Moving forward, like, you try and incorporate them into everything, let them come into, like, you got discussions with the driller, you always invite them in. As we always say, a fresh set of eyes will oversee something that we've seen for years. We might be operating the same way for the last 20 years, and we might be missing one thing, and then some simple thing like that will change it. So you always try and bring them in the team, include them. If they don't drink at the bar, we sort of go from trying to do activities, like we have barbecues. So normally I used to run barbecue every Sunday. We used to call it family day because that was where we were and what we're doing, and we'd always get everyone in, the hydros and jazz, and then just try and make everyone feel like a family, as we do try and keep tight-knit. We spend more time with these guys than we do with our families. So you do get to learn them inside and out, and then you learn about their family life, if they've got kids, their partner, and everything else.
Yeah, and that family feel, I hear about it a lot in these sort of environments, and I often am interested. We talk about kind of making things feel like a family, but it's also, we're delivering a service, we're running a business, we're delivering things for our clients. When things get tough, like, I was once told, families tolerate people. There's the the uncle that's annoying that shows up for Christmas, and everybody just goes, oh yeah, that's Uncle John, and I don't have an Uncle John, by the way.
No.
But when we're trying to run a business and deliver service and do it safely, how do you balance that out when you think about it versus kind of that family feel as well, and not tolerating, I guess, poor performance? How do you
you do coach them. You coach them as much as you can. You pull them aside. If they are not performing and the rest of the guys are, the boys will talk, and normally the driller will have a conversation with them as well. But if we're getting to the point where it's not tolerated, or something's going wrong, we'll pull them aside, have a yarn to them, try and coach them, find out what's going wrong. If they've got issues, we'll get them off site, as we always do. There's no hesitation. But it's more so just coaching the right guys. We pretty much know in the first hitch, their first 2 weeks on site, if they're going to mesh, if they're not going to mesh. You have a feel for them, and you're pretty much sorted within the first 2 weeks. And then okay, you get a good generalisation of what they're like and what they'll do, and if they were hard workers, and then you just move forward from there.
Yeah. Do you remember your first day?
Yeah, I do actually.
Yep.
It was pretty wild. I didn't even know what a drill rig was. I hadn't even turned 18 yet, and looked at this old truck with this mast because it was a cable tool, and it had all these winches and sand lines, and yeah, it was pretty daunting for a 17-year-old back then. But I got to where I was and learned from a lot of people along the way, and it's been great. It's been a great adventure. I've drilled in some of the most unique places in New Zealand when not many people go, and we're in Hamersley Gorge now, where
Amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
we were here for 4 years. When I started with Eastern Well Minerals, I was up here, and I bring everyone down here, and it's an awesome place. So you don't get to see this just sitting from home doing a 9 to 5, do you?
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. And so when you think about that first day, up to now, more than 20 years later, what are the things that you really see that have changed in these industries over that period of time?
We have more offsiders on the rig.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was a driller and offsider, but the equipment's got bigger. We're doing the same job as what we did, but we are doing it a lot safer. There is a lot of stuff I look back on now with the experience I have going, we should not have been doing some of this sort of stuff, and that's just to be honest. We're now getting to a place where we have great equipment. We've got great machines. It's hands off. We've got a lot of rid of a lot of the stuff like Stilsons on rams and stuff like that, breaking equipment out. We've got breakouts. We've got telehandlers with the arms, grabber arms. It's great where we've gotten to from the original days, the old days as we call them.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. And I must admit, this is the most fly-infested episode of this podcast
Yeah, it's
that
been
I've
pretty
done,
good,
so-
these ones. Didn't help with the watermelon on there, so.
Yeah, they're a bit tame, that's
Yeah.
for sure. That's for sure. And as a leader, you've got a operation, multiple rigs happening. What are the things that are really non-negotiables for you when you think, or the way your people behave when you think about your leadership style? What do you expect that you just don't, you don't give on?
Yeah, I don't tolerate arguing back with clients. That is one big thing. We do the utmost. Oh, how do you put it? For us, we always have our front foot forward for the client. We're always trying to do the right thing and then get them the best outcome as well as Eastern. Ventia, you better edit that one. So we do the utmost best for Ventia and the client. More so for the crews to be punctual, to do their job effectively and not jeopardise any contracts. If they've got a problem, to speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up, and all the guys I work with will come to me and I'll be the first one to shut it down, or I will be supporting of what they want and what they need. And we'll start going up the food chain to the managers. Scott McAlpine and Anthony Crane will be moving forward, trying to sort out whatever issues they've got, whatever problems they've got. That's the biggest things I want to see out of the guys, and I would never ask them to do anything that was unsafe or anything that I haven't done. Is the big thing. I'll support them 100%.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, those kind of behaviors of discipline, people being punctual, accountability, even for yourself as a leader, owning the outcomes are really, really important. Teaching, coaching, learning, sort of really, really key skill sets for people to take forward. And I know you're a guy that doesn't mind having a chat with people, sharing your experiences, which is fantastic. Is there anything that you would, is there anything that you wish people either knew about you or thought, sort of might have a misconception about you or think about you one way that you think about and go, geez, I'd actually, I'm a bit different than that, or
I actually care.
Yeah.
I act like the most bluntest person, and I am blunt. They do call me #NoFilter in the company. So, but I've always got everyone's interest at heart. I will support everyone 100%. So I may act like the fool every now and then, but I actually have Ventia's. They're up at the forefront of what I want to do, and how about the guys wherever I can.
Yeah, fantastic. Is there anything before we wrap up that you just think about that you go, geez, every leader should know, or something you've just taken away from a mentor or a previous leader, or an experience that you go, geez, every person should either learn this lesson or not have to learn it by firsthand experience, but should learn it from you?
Speak up. I have had a couple of incidents we have lost a couple of guys through the work, and that was one of the biggest things I learned from an outcome that I had, where an offsider didn't really want to be around at the time, so we actually went in and helped them out. And just know your crew. If they've got something wrong, you will know something's not right. That is the biggest thing that's always scares me, and I constantly watch the crew. If there's something wrong, pull them aside, have that chat. Don't be afraid not to have that chat. And if they say, if you know something's not wrong, try and get it out of them. Is the biggest thing. You need to speak up. We need to speak up as workers and males as well. But don't be afraid to go up to the crew and say, hey, what's wrong, guy?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's a fantastic place to end. I think that's a really good lesson for people to take away. Thanks so much for doing this, man. I appreciate people getting in front of the cameras. I think there's great lessons to share
No worries.
with leaders everywhere. So thanks, man.